Hey, this is John Gibb with Fight Insight, and I want to start out by apologizing that I'm a little late to the party. I know it's Monday. Fights happened on Saturday, but I couldn't get to it. And here I am. Hopefully this is a really good video. So I am here to talk about the UFC Auckland card because this is an MMA channel, but I cannot pass up talking about the Fury Wilder fight because that's like the biggest thing in combat sports right now. I'm going to try to brush through it real quick. I am really happy where the heavyweight division is going in boxing. I think it's super exciting. The first Fury Wilder fight, I think it is insane that people thought that was a draw. I think that Fury, if we're going on the 10-point must system, Fury obviously won that fight. That being said, I actually did pick Wilder to win this fight. I thought he had really good selling points. I only have to win 1 second of one round and I'll win this fight. He got me with that. I actually was like, you're right. You probably are going to win this fight. And Fury shocked the hell out of me, man. He delivered on his promise that he was going to come out there and try to knock Wilder out, which I thought he was bullshitting. But no, he did. I mean, he came out, he took the center of the ring and beat Wilder from pillar to post for 7 rounds. I think that Wilder looked a little weird. There was something wrong with him. I thought it was weird that when the fight started, he immediately surrendered the center of the ring. And that's weird because if I'm the big puncher against the superior boxer and they're willing to meet me in the center of the ring and start throwing punches, I feel like they did half of my job for me. They're not going to make me chase them. They're not going to use a lot of defensive movement. They're just going to come have a shootout with me. So great. But when Fury came out to the center of the ring, Wilder retreated to the ropes and let Fury walk him down for the rest of the fight. So I don't know. Something was wrong with Wilder. I think. I don't know if it was that he was injured or if he was mentally shook. Some people will be like, "Oh, why was he mentally shook?" The only thing I can think of is that he knew that he tried with everything he had to catch Fury in the last fight and only really succeeded twice. And, he may be shook that he wouldn't succeed at all this time. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Anyways, great for Fury. I think Fury's the biggest star in boxing right now. I think he may have just passed up Canelo, just my opinion. But I'm stoked. I'll watch Tyson Fury fight. I'll watch Deontay Wilder fight. I hope they fight Anthony Joshua. So moving on. Now we're going to go to the MMA stuff. We've got Dan Hooker. I'll start at the top of the card. Dan Hooker versus Paul Felder in Auckland. Was super excited for this fight, and it delivered to my expectations. It was really dramatic. I made my daughter cry twice with her watching me watch these fights. I was really, really freaking into it. The first time I watched the fight, I had Dan Hooker winning the fight, but I really wasn't 100% sure. I thought that I could totally see them giving the fight to Paul. So I was really nervous when the decision got read out. And when Dan Hooker won, I was super excited. Since then, I have been on social media and seen that a lot of people say that Paul Felder won the fight. And yesterday I rewatched the fight, and I tried to rewatch it as if I were a Paul Felder fan. I was looking for everything that Paul was doing, and no, man, I think Dan won that fight. I don't think if you watch it closely, I don't think it's really a hard. I mean, it's kind of obvious, Paul did make it very interesting. Paul did make it very dramatic, but I think that Dan won 4 of the 5 rounds. I think he won rounds 1, 2, 3, and then 5. He came out and he established his range and he landed a bunch of calf kicks. By the second round, he'd established his jab and was really knocking Paul's head back with that jab. That's why at the end of the fight, you saw Paul's whole, whatever side of the face it was, but the whole thing was super swollen. It was all from that jab. It just a pop, pop, pop. There's that really stiff, long jab. And he executed that tactic beautifully. He lost his range at times. Paul at times did make it interesting. Paul at times did catch him. I found that Paul was catching Dan at the beginning and at the end of his combos. He's really explosive. So Paul's great, man. Paul showed so much heart. I think that guy is tough as nails. I'm a huge fan. I hope nothing for the best for Paul. But Paul's best round was the 4th round. I thought he might finish Dan in the 4th round. It was really dramatic. So good on him. But I think if you go back and watch that fight, and if you're really objective and you watch really closely, Dan won rounds 1 through 3 and round 5. So, I mean, he clearly won the fight. To me, if you disagree, tell me in the comment section. Give it to me. I want all the smoke. I'm really excited about what comes next for both of those guys. I hope that both of them are stars now. I hope that everybody recognizes that those guys are elite fighters, and Dan Hooker will most likely go on to fight Justin Gaethje. Maybe he gets in a fight with Dustin Poirier. I think if you're a Dan fan and you want Dan to win, I think you should hope for that Dustin Poirier fight. I think he might be able to beat Justin Gaethje, but if I put my analyst hat on for that fight, I do worry for Dan against Justin Gaethje. For Paul, I think there's one very clear fight that I would love to see, and it would just be an excellent fight for both guys, and I hope he fights Cowboy Cerrone. I think that Paul Felder versus Cowboy Cerrone would be awesome. Oh, one last thing. The Dan Hooker-Justin Gaethje fight, where the venue that I would book that on. So if Khabib and Tony fight, Conor's going to get the winner. And let's say Tony wins, because that's who I'm rooting for. But let's say Tony wins. And Conor versus Tony, I would put Justin Gaethje versus Dan Hooker as the co-main event. That's a dope card. I would spend $60 on just those two fights. So I actually really hope it plays out like that. Moving down the card. So we had Jimmy Crute versus McCall. Can't say his name, so I'm just going to call him McCall. That McCall guy is the most undersized fighter I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, I think that was light heavyweight, and he looked like he could literally be a lightweight. And he looked like he had like a little bit of a belly. Apparently he wins fights. He's got really good boxing, but most undersized guy I've ever seen. Jimmy Crute, who I've never seen either of these guys fight, but Jimmy Crute apparently likes to strike a little bit, but he came in as a grappler in this fight, which is a really smart decision when you have such a big size advantage over somebody, and you could use your weight on them like that and make them carry you, use my muscles versus your muscles. It was smart to grapple with them. Got a Kimura. Well, we got a takedown, got an easy mount, went for an arm triangle, and then switched it real slickly to a Kimura. I was impressed. I will be excited to watch another Jimmy Crute fight. Before that, we had I cannot pronounce her name, Karolina, the Polish girl, versus Yao Xiaonan. Interesting enough, Yao Xiaonan had got the coronavirus, and she said it's not that big of a deal. So if you're watching this video and you're scared about the coronavirus, apparently it's not that big of a deal. Yao Xiaonan said so. But Yao Xiaonan, I'd never seen either of these girls fight before either, but Yao was really good. She was really busy. She changed levels a lot. She went to the head, body, legs. She had a really nice stepping side kick. A very varied attack. Super aggressive. Good cardio. Strong in the clinch. It looked like she got a bunch of hip tosses in there. Beat the brakes off that girl. So I'm excited to see Yao fight again. I'd really like her to see a nice step up in competition. Probably a Tisha Torres fight or a Michelle Waterson fight. I think that would be really good for her next fight. Before that, we saw Ben the Combat Wombat Sassoli, who I was rooting for his cool-ass nickname, versus Marcos de Lima, and that was a wild fight. Yeah, I don't think it lasted 2 minutes. Marcos de Lima, every time they came close to each other, he started throwing everything he had, just bombs. Granted, I thought his punches were really sloppy. There were these like really straight-armed punches, which is not very professional. He looked a little excited, but he knocked him out, and so it worked out for him. So that strategy worked out for him. Hopefully he doesn't continue to use that strategy, because I think he's going to get beat up. I thought his striking looked terrible. Before that, Brad Riddell versus Mustayev, which I think he's a Dagestani, and I think he's one of Khabib's boys. I thought that was a really close fight. I actually thought that Mustayev won the fight. I won't break it down round for round or anything. There was a lot of position battling, a lot of holding position, Mustayev getting a position and Brad trying to break out of it. So I thought Mustayev had established enough control time to win simply based off of that. But They gave it to Brad, which is fine. Brad did drop him with the right hand in the first round, so you can give that round to him. Second round, I'm not 100% sure. I think I would have given it to Mustaev. The third round, 2 minutes left in the round, Brad seemed to abandon all game plan and just went for broke, followed him to the ground, just kind of went ham, and it worked out really well for him. So I could actually picture giving Brad the first round and the third round. Now that I'm like thinking about it as I'm talking, but that was a cool fight. I thought they both looked good. I thought the Mustaev guy looked real good. But that's it. That was all the fights right there. This is the second time I did this video, and I liked this time more. So this is the one I think I'm going to post. All right, guys. I'm really excited for the Dan Hooker, Paul Felder, to see the trajectory of their careers. I hope they're stars. If you don't know who they are, you should watch those fights, man. Watch those fights. Get Fight Pass. It's worth it. All right, guys. I'll see you next time.